Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, thank you for staying with us. I know it's been a long event, but we have more exciting activities to come. Now let's start our round 3. So round 3 is on dev tooling and security, and we'll have a real debate. I know in the previous rounds, the debate were more like panels, but this debate will be a real debate between SQ and NUM. So let's welcome to the stage our debate participants. Welcome to the stage, SQ, founder of GoPlus, and NUM, co-founder of Hyperlane. It's okay. So I'll introduce the format of this debate. We'll start with 3-minute opening note from each side to address their statement and their reasoning. And we'll have about 7-minute open debate time. They can freely express their mind and address each other. And then we'll close with 1-minute closing note from each side. Now I'll share the debate question with everyone. The topic is the Ethereum growth paradox. Are we building bridges before destinations? In other words, are we really building bridges without user adoption for Ethereum, or are bridges necessary to make sure the users can comment after the bridges are there? So, Nam, do you want to go first and make a self-intro and also make your statement?
Yeah, I can. Although I will say, I think the question is very basically telling me Nam, why you're building what you're building. And so I would love to actually have Eskil. I don't know if you want to start first, because otherwise I'm ruining the question.
Sure.
And then I'm happy to go.
Sure, my pleasure. Yeah. My name is Eskil, and I'm the co-founder of the GoPlus. And GoPlus is a project focusing on protecting the end users. For example, our slogan is protect you every transaction. And actually for this topic is pretty interesting, but I do think I have a different opinion, because obviously there are, tens of different important things for me to build before the bridge. This is for me, this is a common society question. Even not only for Web3. Because at GoPlus, we hold a principle which is open, permissionless, and user-driven. And I think the user-driven is very important, because I think the most important thing, whatever we build, security, layer 1, layer 2, and all the different apps, you're building for the people. And building for the people, you have to meet their demand. You have to know what they want. And to be honestly, I think the mainstream logic of this industry is still practically about launching a new asset and manage it, and also make trading about it. And for example, security is a very, very essential thing, because you don't want to be getting scammed in this big place. And of course, there are more important things. For example, I think 2 things really matters. In front of, for example, making a bridge. The first thing is about the user experience. Because I think the whole narrative about 3 is really about to bring more and more users. And you need to make it really easy and simple and safe for them to come into this space and feel they're confident to doing things. And secondly, I think we are also living in the physical world. We have the government, we have the rule, we have the law, we have the compliance. So you can see all these drama stories about all the central exchange and some of the projects getting accused by FBI, SEC, like a Department of Attorney. So obviously, this is actually a kind of the hidden driving force for what we should do and what we shouldn't do, or what we should do it smartly. So obviously, I think there's more things is behind the priority of the building the bridge there.
Eskil, I feel like you're not being spicy enough. I want to hear bridges are bad. Don't build bridges. I'll try to make it spicy. All right. So my name is Nam. I'm one of the co-founders working on Hyperlane. Hyperlane is a interoperability protocol, which kind of one of the main attributes of it is it's permissionless, right? Like the idea is that like folks like directly at AltLayer, like many other places, allow you to create more and more rollups, and then the question becomes like, how do users come to my rollup? That's the bridge question, right? So that's what we do. And I guess if you've paid any attention to our industry, you know that bridges are like a super dangerous thing, right? Like in the I think top 10 of Rect, which is basically like the list of hacks and like how much money was lost, I believe 8 out of 10 are bridges, right? And you could also say like, Nam, what do you mean? Like you make it even easier for people to build more bridges. So like, why do you do that, right? Like, are we building bridges before destinations? And I guess my take is that we are going through like a very cyclical, I guess, narrative of our industry where like 4 years ago, right? Like we had exactly the same question of like, oh, where are the app builders? And then the app builders built apps and they were like impossible to use because Ethereum was like super expensive and super slow. And so I think I feel like people don't appreciate like just how much we've actually been able to scale Ethereum, right? Like that was like the biggest question. Like, would Ethereum ever actually make sense? Because like it's just too damn slow. It's like just the block space is too limiting. And so I guess the first thing I want to say to this question is basically like, I'm so glad that we are asking ourselves this question because it meant that we've solved scalability, right? And so we solved scalability. Block space is basically infinite. It's like super cheap. I don't know how many of y'all have thought about like, oh man, like my transaction on Arbitrum is like too expensive. And so that's, I think, an amazing accomplishment. We should like, the Ethereum core developers are probably here somewhere at the conference. We should all buy them a beer because amazing. But what they've introduced is this fragmentation problem, right? Like how do you go between rollups? Like, right, like we lost this composability between Aave and Uniswap because now all of these assets, all of these apps are on different chains. And so I think, and this is just me, I think the question kind of doesn't make sense to me because it's very clear that like if I'm an application builder today, I have to have this choice of like, oh, like where do I deploy my application to? How do I get users? And it's the same thing for the users, right? Like, oh, I have token on Polygon. How do I actually access this meme coin on Base? And so it's very like, I've been building bridges for like 3 years and it's just like exceedingly obvious that like there's a huge demand for it. And I think this, yeah, so I guess there's no way we're building bridges before destinations. Like the destinations exist, and like people tell me every day, how do I get to this thing? And so yeah, I think this is our very clear no to this question.
Okay, you both used up your opening note time. Now let's start the open debate. Ask you, what do you want to say about Nam's statement just now about destinations is already there?
I think when I look at this topic, are we building bridges before destination? I think we should define a little bit of what about our destination. So what is the destination of the Ethereum? Just to have a bunch of rollups? To be honest, I don't believe it nowadays. But I think this is a common question for any industry, especially for IT industry. You need to build something meaningful for people to use here, and you need to build something attractive and have point to make a big difference, like anti-censorship, right? That's why we have this Web3, why we have this decentralized world open source cultures. So I think rollup, for example, I think that's even only just been one possibility of the things. And you have this AVS, and you might have something different, FTE, all this new concept nowadays is coming up. So I think all it matters, again, which I believe is still like the very user-driven part of the things.
Yeah, I think, again, to keep it spicy, I'm wondering if basically what you're trying to rephrase the question to is like, what people do on rollups today is not a destination, right? And I'm assuming what you're going to say is like, basically most of activity on rollups is like pure speculation, right? And speculation is not a worthy destination. And I'm going to be, again, I think I guess classic crypto bro here and say like, we build permissionless infrastructure, right? Like we let both developers and users use something, and nobody can tell them like, oh, what you're doing is not worth it, and like I'm not gonna let you do it, right? Like the absolute, like the number one thing why Web3 is interesting over Web2 is because it's permissionless. And so yes, I think a lot of that is speculation. A lot of that is like meme coins on like Solana and Base and Arbitrum. And I think like I feel like we shouldn't like basically like degrade that activity as like not valid activity. Like to me, like I own 0 NFTs, I own 0 meme coins, but I think it's a perfectly valid activity to do on all of these different chains, and that's obviously what's driving like a lot of activity. And it reminds me in the very early days of the internet as well, right? Like in the early days of the internet, it was like, oh, it's for these weird people, and like no real economic activity is happening on those things. And so I think, yes, obviously I would like to see a lot more like sophisticated, like, you know, user experiences and applications and everything. But I want us to all recognize that like what we've built so far, which is basically permissionless infrastructure for like users to use, and nobody can tell them that they're wrong or like that, oh, like you shouldn't do this, is like absolutely amazing. I think rollups open up the design space where like people, for example, like Uniswap can, right, like build different kind of block space with different guarantees about like the MBV or about like transaction ordering that, again, we wouldn't have been able to do before. And we just need to build that infrastructure before builders can build more interesting applications.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree one of the point which you're mentioning is permissionless. And I think this is a distinguish which is between the Web3 and the Web2. But to be very honest, where we are, like in Web3 for all end users, I think we are still in the age of about to have a Windows 9.5 in the early 90s, or maybe in the late 80s, not making big differences. So Windows 9.5, when you have it, I think the biggest impact, you really have a lot of people to use something really simplified. And then you see a lot of big applications, game, web, internet, email, whatever, like really jumping out on the stage and using them. And I think it's really hard to define which comes first, the developer or the user. Because GoPlus, actually, we starting to building this GoPlus Intelligence, which is a bunch of the security API, which is, you can find it on Dex Screener, Dex Tools, which is tell the people which token is a scammer, which token is malicious. And this is actually a developer too. But it wouldn't really make sense if no people care about it. And the people I'm talking about is the end user. I mean, they wouldn't even think about integrating us and use us as a standard nowadays for everyone. So I do think really be careful what are the major priority and what we should be focusing on spending time on there.
I guess I'm actually not yet American. I'm about to turn American, but I love America, and I think one of the aspects is always like, I don't want to tell somebody else how to live their life. And so I guess, I don't know if it's a cop-out answer, but like, yes, I don't want to tell people like, this is not secure enough for you to use, right? Like I think, again, comparing it to the early days of internet, Windows 95, right? Like we back then didn't have like encryption. We didn't have SSL, right? Like if you wanted to do e-commerce, honestly, pretty crazy time to do it. Like your credit card got lost anytime, but people did it, right? And like, I don't think we should have waited for like people to build like SSL and like all of these things before people do useful things on the internet. And so I think similar here, like we should not like tell people like, oh, it's not yet secure, and so you shouldn't go use this. But obviously, we have to tell people like, hey, this is the risk, and it's up to you to decide this or not.
Totally, totally. I mean, this is actually, I think, facing to the different group of people. Because like for developer, you can tell whatever you want to say, tell them that API, SDK, on different languages, you talk a lot of bullshit, actually it's hard to understand, but they understand it anyway, because they are your people, they really understand what you're talking about. But when you're coming to the end user, you have to talk a very, very simplified language, which they understand. And exactly like you said. I mean, it's not only for security. I think it's same for bridge. It's same for any kind of development tools or any of the infrastructure. And this is actually, I think, this in Ethereum ecosystem, which is really a big problem. Because we are, in general, talking about the language nobody understands. Nobody understands what is AVS. Nobody understands what is the FTTE. Nobody even understands what is ZK. Even it's been there for many years. What does that mean? What does that mean for me? I can have some new asset or have some fun? No, it's not directed. So, I mean, maybe the next topic we can do is how could we really deliver something which is simplified and makes sense to the end user for anything there.
Okay, we're running out of time, so now we're going to hear your closing note. You each have 1 minute. Nam, can you go first?
Yes. Honestly, I feel like Esco and I both agreed, so I don't know that I can close much here. So I'm just going to use the stage to tell you to never stop caring about permissionlessness. Like, I think this is the only reason why our industry is industrying. The moment where we think about like, oh, like, you need this permission to like launch this application or like whatever, like we basically lost it and like we should just all go home. But yeah, like I think part of that is going to be to create a lot more infrastructure and block space for application developers to no longer have to think about that being a constraint. And for that, we need bridges.
Yeah, I will end this up because when I first think about the topic, I was just thinking about two things. Because when I was in university, I was actually studying in Sweden. So I spent a lot of time in Scandinavia. There's a lot of island, fjords there. And actually, the Norwegian government was built a lot of bridges to connecting some of the kind of no-man island there, just because there were some house or there were some people there. But actually, some people actually moved out after they built the bridge. So there are actually no people maintaining these bridges. And also, actually, some countries are building, they still don't have the infrastructure. I don't know, maybe in Thailand, some people still need to use some boat, even in danger in some situation. So I think the key question is really not about the bridge. It's really about who you're going to serve for and why you build it.
Good one, good one.
Okay, great debate. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, guys.
There's no winner of this debate. Both are winners. Really appreciate your time. Now, please go to the backstage to prepare for your demo. Thank you. So next up, we'll introduce our 8 amazing AVSs to start doing their 2-minute presentation with 1-minute Q&A. So first up, let's welcome Dean Rubin, co-founder and CTO of Othentic.
Hey guys. Okay, so great to be here. I'm Dean, the co-founder and CTO of Othentic. And today, agenda, we're going to be speaking about our building story, basically how we came up with Othentic. Then we're going to be speaking about what is the Othentic stack. And eventually, we're going to run some new cool AVS ideas. So let's do it. About 2 years ago, me and my co-founder, Yarden, we decided to build an AVS. So we jumped into this rabbit hole. And basically, while doing that, we found ourselves struggling with all of the core level implementations. We found that many pieces are missing instead of focusing on our own core business logic of the protocol. So we just built them. Started up from the consensus mechanism, consensus layer, down to messaging, to attestation layer, and basically lots of pieces. And this is how we came up with the stack. Very fast, we started delivering it to other AVSs. And yeah, this is where we sit in the diagram. So what is the Othentic stack? Basically, you can think about it as an AVS framework for development. Basically, a canvas of production-ready components where you can spin up any kind of use case using those. And the best part is, it is 100% trustless. You don't really need to trust on us. Like, we are not a blockchain. We are not a network. Everything is self-deployed and super easy to use. We accelerate the time to market for AVSs. They can focus on what they do best, which is building their AVS. Today, we're working with more than 30 companies. All of them are really great. The best part of my job is that I'm getting exposed to all of their ideas. We are helping them through the design and their architecture. And yeah, let's run some cool ideas. So we have keeper networks, order books, reputation systems, AI agent AVSs, and that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Any questions for Dean? Anyone in the audience? Okay, we'll welcome the next one then. So next up, we'll have Jake Hartnell, CEO and co-founder of AltLayer.
Yo. Oh, thanks. I got this clicker. Amazing. Hey, I'm here to talk to you about intelligent protocols. Who wants to see more interesting applications and has been bored with all the boring, repetitive shit we've been seeing in crypto? Let's talk about how we can get to more interesting things. Smart contracts, they're not that smart by themselves, actually. They have limited compute. They're not really self-aware or aware of things that are happening on-chain or off-chain. And we need intelligent protocols. We got to take things to the next level. So we want to help you make the most advanced, interesting applications you can in the year 2025. Today, we're announcing Waves. Waves is our new WASI AVS runtime that lets you build your actively validated service. What is it? It's one AVS that can run thousands of little WASM components. And you can dynamically deploy new components to this AVS without having to talk to all your operators. So, normally if you want to update your AVS, you have to go talk with all your operators and ship them a new Docker image. This lets you just deploy components at will. You have your whole programmable application space to make cool new user experiences for people. But wait, there's more. I thought I had 4 minutes, so I'm just skipping. I'm going to get into the good part. The real thing that we unlock with this new stack is composability, letting you chain together various different services into new experiences for people. Like this happens, then this happens, then this happens. Yeah. And we've got some demos of stuff, but none of it's, I'm going to be way out of time. Anyway, this was all really fun. Yay. Question time.
Any question from the audience? Okay, I got one question for you.
Amazing.
When testnet for the public, when mainnet?
I think we're going to be launching a crazy new art project later this year with this stack. But this is going to be audited and production-ready Q1. It's going to work on mainnet Ethereum, OP stack. We're also going to be adding support for Filecoin VM. And if you want it on your chain or L2, come talk to me.
Okay, stay tuned for Q1 from Layer. Thank you. Okay, next up, let's welcome Drew Stone, founder of Tangle, to the stage.
Hello, hello. I'll need that. Hi, I'm the founder of Tangle, a layer 1 blockchain for on-demand services, and I'll be chatting about Tangle Blueprints, our standard for building AVSs. Hope there's developers in the crowd because this is targeted to you. Our goal is to make AVS building faster, so we provide a pretty structured SDK to build AVSs. You define your contexts, which are custom hooks to provide you pretty much anything you need, jobs, event listeners, and then you implement your handlers. We support a variety of different event listeners. You can hook this up to anything, EVM contracts, cron jobs. You can build your own custom event listener. We also provide access to context, so you can use anything you need from EigenLayer on demand within your job handlers. The main takeaway that you should have here is that you can compose blueprints together. So in this example, we're listening to the Tangle event listener, and we're consuming the Frost blueprint to do a multi-party computation, to generate a threshold signature that provides maybe an Oracle AVS service. So as developers build with our SDK, you will be able to compose and leverage anything that's in our ecosystem or open source, so you can build really interesting AVSs with what other people build. These are a variety of the products and partners we're working with to build templates. These templates are all open source on our GitHub. You can plug and play them today to build different integrations with OBOL, Hyperlane, TLS Notary, Frost multi-party computations. We're working with Avail to build a Orbit rollup as a service blueprint. Pretty much anything. This is going to grow every single month, so come build with us. Come get in touch. and it's all going to be incentivized. So that's Tangle Blueprints.
Okay, anyone in the audience has any questions? Okay, can you share a bit more about your incentive program? How do builders get involved?
Oh, everything we have is open source. Our blockchain is actually on mainnet right now. You can deploy services to testnet. You can also deploy services to EigenLayer. Get in touch. We will provide TNT grants. Our token is called TNT, Tangle Network Token, and it's a good way for you to join Telegram, join our ecosystem, and I'll make sure you are provided the support that you need.
Thank you. Let's give
Thanks
it
so
up
much.
for Drew. Okay, next up we have Grigory Rasu, founder and CEO of Pi2.
Hello, hello. How to bring all languages to Web3. We are a new company, just raised recently, and our goal is to offer the first modular universal protocol. Universal in the programming language, so you can use any programming language, any proof to verify your claim, and it's also powered by a very fast consensus protocol. What makes this happen is a very old view of programming languages as mathematical theories. We formalize programming languages in the K framework, and then we derive all the tools automatically, correct by construction. That's very important, correct by construction. There is nothing to formally verify. Pi2 comes from proof of proof, specifically zero-knowledge proof of mathematical proof. This enables what we call the universal verifiable computing framework. What is different here is that the programming language is an input to the verifiable computing stack. And to the left, you have the programming language and the program, all the way to the right, where you have the zero-knowledge proof. What is beautiful is that in the middle, you have a mathematical proof. So everything is factored through a mathematical proof, and that gives it correctness by construction, and it also allows you to use any ZK technology to generate zero-knowledge proofs in the end. So this is the foundation of verifiable computing 2.0, which is correct by construction and universal, works with all languages without compilers and anything else buggy. Please become an early developer.
Okay, thank you.
I'm 10 seconds early.
Anyone in the audience have any questions? So can I ask, what kind of projects should leverage Pi2?
What kind of
Projects
product?
should work with you?
What kind of product? It will be a new blockchain in which you can write smart contracts in any programming languages you want. And they are completely interoperable. And you can also interoperate with and cross-chain with any other smart contracts on any other chains.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, let's welcome back to the stage Eskil, co-founder of GoPlus.
Thanks, Doro. Hey again, I'm back. Yeah, I think just make a short introduction and just tell you what exactly we're doing. And like my title, we're trying to build a firewall for all the Web3 end users with AVS. And the whole thing is about a security layer. And why we're saying that? Because the end goal is we're going to inside of our security module in every single chain. And what we had already been doing is to checking all this on-chain smart contract on the token, on the NFT. And here is just some numbers, like from, for example, base chain by August 2024, and we did a statistic, only 6.6% of the address is actually profitable. But in the same time, you actually have a 25% of chance getting scammed. I'll tell you something. There's actually a strong decreasing on the smart contract attack, but while at the same time, you have more people losing their money in Web3. And what has happened? Simple. Those people are just going to directly hack on the end user. And we are been here for 5 years since 2020 DeFi summer to protecting the end user by providing GoPlus intelligence, all the intelligence data you can find on DexScreener, Dex2 CMC, like all the Binance wallet, OKX wallet, Bybit wallet, also some of the DEX like SushiSwap and ZeroX. And we also starting to launching a user portal this year, like all these numbers. I won't just read them all. I think I only have a half a second. And this is the whole thing we're built, and the ABCD intelligence apps facing to the end user, and also the user security module, and the architecture. And why we are using AVS? Because this is something we're trying to utilize to decentralize our computer layer to make sure security in the end, it won't become a final censorship. And to make sure everything transparent with AVS. But two things a little bit different, because we already have an existing system to immigration into this land. OK, that's it.
OK, thank you, SQ. Any question for SQ? OK, I have a question for you. So how many chains have you guys integrated? And what are the main selling point of using GoPlus for an end user?
How many chains? I don't know. I'm not following that, but I think we have at least integrated 30 plus chains. Most of the EVM major chains have a lot of users, and we also supported Solana like in September. I think the most attractive thing is because we are the most comprehensive and open standard to protect the user. Tell them what they should go into, what they shouldn't do. And I'm trying to do that proactively by building a firewall to stop their malicious transaction and to keep their safe. Stay safe there.
OK, thank you, SQ.
OK. So that's OK, thank you.
OK, thank you. And next up, we'll have Sudipan, core contributor of RiskLayer.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Sudipan here, co-founder and CEO at ChainRisk and a core contributor at RiskLayer. At RiskLayer, we are pretty much building the coordination technology behind finance, which is Risk. Now, who are we to do this, right? So RiskLayer is built by the team behind ChainRisk with the vision to build the Moody's for crypto. You can see a whole lot of our experience over here and a whole lot of our previous work. So what do we mean by being the Moody's for crypto, right? So a risk rating marketplace for anything that's available on chain. It could be starting from as simple as asset ratings to AVS ratings for AI agents, credit risk scores for your wallets to enable like dynamic LTVs on DeFi protocols, and so on. So pretty much about what's our architecture, right? So risk is a social metric, and hence the consensus is pretty much social. So we have a set of risk managers / curators who are running their models on a ZK coprocessor. At the end of the day, to push out a risk score, the risk score gets validated up to a certain margin of error / confidence interval by the what you call the market validator nodes. And then it's pushed on chain by the EigenLayer operators. So what are the EigenLayer operators putting on chain? The EigenLayer operators are putting the confidence interval along with the time period up to which that confidence interval is valid, right? So that's pretty much about us. We've had like quite a few application layer projects onboarded. We have onboarded, of course, ChainRisk is one of the curators here. We have also onboarded Alterscope and TokenSite as one of the sort of curators to basically help us curate these risk scores. That's pretty much about us. We are going to build the Moody's for crypto.
OK, thank you. Anyone in the audience has any question? OK, I got one for you. So can you share with us what are the key components of the risk score? Like how do you come up with the risk score for different protocols?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the simple example of credit risk score for wallets, right? So in case of credit risk score for wallets, we usually take like two aspects of it. Number one is the user's closed positions on chain across like several DeFi lending protocols. And for the newer positions which have been opened, we usually run like agent-based simulations to basically give out like a statistical credit risk score. Now, what this can be used for is to basically, permissionless markets like Morpho can use it to give dynamic LTV ratios to better users, and that ensures higher capital efficiency across DeFi.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, last but not the least, let's welcome back to the stage Nam, co-founder and CTO of Hyperlane.
Thank you. Hello. All right, everybody. My name is Nam. I'm working on Hyperlane. We are building interoperability. So the key concept is, hey, I'm a smart contract on one chain. I want to send a message to another chain. Like, how do I know this actually happened? How do I move? Oh, this way. How do I know this happened? Like, that's what interoperability protocols are. Hyperlane takes a very modular approach to it, which basically means that like there's no such thing as a single verification mechanism that can actually do that. And so you can basically pick and choose security modules depending on what application you are. Why we're using EigenLayer? Currently, most security modules that are out there are effectively like authority-based, right? There's like proof of authority multisigs, which basically attests to like origin chain state. And I think that totally makes sense, right? Like we just didn't have the technology to really like move beyond it. But now Hyperlane's interoperability protocol is fraud provable. And so what it allows you to do is actually leverage stake that is in systems like EigenLayer to basically like have validators be staked and then thus slashable for when there is a security fault, right? Like today, like we've seen many bridge hacks. Again, out of the top 10 bridge hacks are from validators. And so basically we can slash them and then we can basically like create a larger stake for people to slash. And ultimately that slash stake can be used to basically pay out bridge insurance to users so that users can bridge more securely. How does this work? Yeah, you send a message, validators, they are staked in AVS, they create a valid signature. If they lie, that valid signature can be used on the origin chain to submit that to the fraud-proof contract, and then they get slashed. That's it. Whoa, I guess say it in 50 seconds. Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. Like, you can be able to use the same stake across many different chains. You can restake basically across chains, and that will lead to better capital efficiency. There you go.
Okay, anyone in the audience want to address Nam with any questions? Okay, I got one for you. So we kind of know you guys for being very active in Cosmos/Ledger ecosystem. Like, what is your focus? Like, are you across all different ecosystems, or do you have any particular important sectors that you're focused on?
Yes. So Hyperlane is what we call an open source interoperability framework. That means that it's fully open source. Anybody can implement Hyperlane in whatever other execution environment there is, right? Like we just believe that people are very creative, engineers love building new stuff. They will build new VMs. And so we, as a core team, we started building the EVM implementation, but then, yeah, others built the Cosmos implementation, SVM, Fuel's working on the Fuel one, Startnet, Cairo, like Ton. Like the idea is that like you shouldn't have to wait for us to do this. Like people are able to build Hyperlane for these other execution environments and build this kind of open framework so we can all work together.
Okay, thank you. Can you stay on the stage with us? And let's welcome back all the other 6 speakers to the stage. So next up, we'll have the most exciting round of this track. We'll have the knockout round. So I'll ask our speakers 2 questions. They'll each have 30 seconds to answer each question. And in the end, you, the audience, will decide the winner by voting via scanning the QR code. So please pay close attention to what they're saying, and you have the verdict in the end. Okay, now let's start from here. The first question is, from point 1 to 10, how important would you rate dev tooling standardization for Ethereum ecosystem, and why do you think so?
I mean, I'll definitely rate it like more than 10 if there's a scale on that, because I think, with like restaking ecosystems coming up and all of this coming up, I think like Consensys had done a great stuff, in the last 2 cycles, building up like dev tools. But now I think there needs to be a very different set of dev tools which enable you to also bootstrap like crypto economic security and the primitives which we are bringing on board. So I think it's like a 11 on 10 if possible.
Can you tell us your name again, just in case our audience forgot?
Yeah, I'm Sudeepan. I'm the core contributor at RiskLayer.
Askil?
I give it a score for 9. Of course, it's very important. It's a secret weapon why Linux can beat up Windows NT. And this is a very fundamental thing to guarantee we're going to have a better ecosystem, better toolings, better interface, better UI for all the end users, and make sure we have enough and continuously coming developer for this ecosystem to really keep building on this. But I just give it a 9 because I think that the only thing I can give to 10 is still like what the user really needed, the user-driven thing.
Gregory?
Important, 10. Feasible, 3. It is important, obviously, for all of us to agree on how to write unit tests, how to write assertions, pre-post conditions, and so on. But sometimes you have security properties which are so complex that there is no unique approach that can express all the security properties. Some people prefer Coq, others Lean, others K, others PVS. There will never, ever be agreement to have just one standard language.
Thank you. Jake?
10, because Ethereum is the standard. Why are all these chains copying the EVM? Why are we have all these other EVM clone chains? Because they can't be bothered to build their own dev tooling ecosystem. Ethereum has won, the EVM has won because it is the standard. I yield the rest of my time. My name is Jake from Layer.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. Next up, Dean.
So yeah, 10. Today we have 5 different clients of Ethereum. And the best thing about it, that if one has bug, all of the other still functioning, the network still functioning, because we have standards on top of that. And this is what makes Ethereum more decentralized and more secure, more safe. And we do the same thing with the AVS. We built in standardization with Othentic, and it's super important. Same goes here.
Thank you. Drew?
I definitely think it's a 10 as well. It's important to have standards for devs. It helps them onboard to our industry. Primarily, I think developers benefit from things they can copy and paste. It's how you onboard and teach people fast, and it helps create a much more secure, auditable trail of breadcrumbs when you're building out important applications. So I give it a 10.
Okay, thank you. Everyone is on the same page. Nam, do you have a different answer?
All right, don't listen to the haters. Build infrastructure. Infrastructure is important. I am going to say that standardization matters a lot less. Like, it's not like the EIPs that matter, but what matters is having the infrastructure for people to build useful applications. Like, Uber and Airbnb would have never been built if it wasn't for like cloud infrastructure. And the same thing applies to our infrastructure. Like, we have to have good infrastructure for developers to actually build the Ubers and Airbnbs of our industry, and everybody else who tells you otherwise is a hater.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's it for the first question. Now let's move on to the second question. Other speakers, please tell the audience who you are, from which team, just in case they forgot. Okay, second question is, what is the ultimate way to protect Web3 user security?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Sudeepan, core contributor at RiskLayer. So the way I would take it is typically through, there's been one part which is like purely technical on scams and all of that. So I think there needs to be a lot of user education programs which must be run over there. That's one end. But what I can purely speak about is about like crypto economic risks. So, users, their positions, they cannot get liquidated, and that's what we are enabling through RiskLayer. So, pretty much about it.
SQL from the GoPlus security. I don't think there's a single tooling or solution to protect like this, but I think the most important thing is actually a philosophy between the attack and the defense. So the most important thing for the ultimate way is to how to level up the cost for the attackers to make sure they just feel like it's not worth to attack on the people. You cannot really end up all these attackers, but you can really protecting the user and let them pay the really high cost to make sure they're not going to interested even to do this. That's it.
Grigore Roșu, pi squared. The ultimate way, no way. But this is what gets us close. Correctness by construction. So we know that we are not going to produce things that are not verifiable. Second, verifiable. So you can check that the security happened as you expected. And punishable. So if the verification doesn't pass, somebody should be punished. Slashed. So correctness by construction, verifiability, punishment.
Privacy. Privacy is great. You know, if the world is going to go on-chain, are we really just going to let like North Korea and other nation-state actors target everyone with a Bored Ape? Like, really, I think actually privacy is a really fundamental way to protect people because with all this data publicly available on-chain, it's really easy to be targeted. Layer.
So, I think it's all about don't trust, verify. Everything, everything. You need to be concert. It might take slow, like you might act everything a bit slow than you usually do, but you have to protect yourself. And the end user always need to use all the tooling that protect yourself. Started up from you know, the very basic tooling till the very sophisticated ones.
That's Dean from Othentic.
I'm Drew from Tangle, by the way. I think Nam is right. We need to build more infrastructure to protect user security, including formal verification tools, cryptographic algorithms, audits, standards, things for developers to build on top of and leverage the infrastructure that we're building. There's a lot of like simulation frameworks for transactions. These are very cool. Yeah.
Now I'm from Hyperlane. There's no such thing as security. The only thing you get is risk and whether it's acceptable. And for that, you need transparency. So like users need to understand what risk they're taking. And for that, yeah, I think just trust and verify. Like the trust assumptions of what you're going to use have to be very obvious. And obviously, most users won't do that. And so for the rest, you need professional people basically price that risk and then offer that insurance. That's it.
Well said, well said. Let's give it a round of applause to all of our speakers. And now let's start voting. Please scan the QR code to vote for your favorite speaker from track 3. Someone voted in advance for Pi Square. Okay, we have competition. Come on, guys. Please cast your vote. I feel like seeing a horse race. Okay, do we have a result? Okay. Oh, not yet. Okay, time is up. I think we have a winner. So that's Dean from Othentic. He won this round. Can you step forward? Congratulations. Okay, let's take a group photo. Let's take a group photo. One more, one more. Okay, thank you guys. That's a wrap for track 3. Thank you for participating, and thank you all the great audience for staying with us. Next up, we have round 4, moderated by Alex, CEO of P2P. Thank you.